We're going to be discussing more of what Chandrayaan-3 is up to in a significant development for India's space exploration program. The Pragyan rover, part of Chandrayaan-3 mission, has successfully navigated its first lunar obstacle. The rover has managed to traverse a lunar crater with a depth of around 100 millimeters. This achievement has instilled confidence in the ISRO control room, which continues to guide and monitor the rover through several such challenges. The Pragyan rover's movements are not fully autonomous and are controlled from Bengaluru, with each step requiring careful planning and execution. As the rover continues to explore the deep craters in the lunar South Pole, which is of course a repository for millions of years of history, an absolute gold mine for space science progress, anticipation grows over Chandrayaan-3 mission's potential findings. To take this conversation forward, I have with me Group Captain V.N. Jha. We also have with us Dr. R.C. Kapoor, who is a space expert, and Mr. Suresh Naik, space scientist as well. Let me begin with Mr. R.C. Kapoor, if I can. Mr. Kapoor, we're putting out those visuals that have been released by ISRO. Of course, these visuals, to us laymen, it makes us very, very excited to see the rover finally coming out of the lander, and then you see that it's made its way over its first obstacle as well. But if you can just help explain to our viewers how significant actually is this achievement, the fact that the rover is till now managing its way through the lunar South Pole.
See, the world's cutest vehicle on Earth, actually it is on the moon, and that is rover, Pragyan. As you have seen, its visuals move around and then show us how the lunar surface looks like. And you can also notice that there are small things here and there, or the area that is not perfectly flat. So it has to negotiate obstacles, and obviously the news that has come is that it has negotiated some 5 centimeter size obstacle, and also it has negotiated a crater which is about 10 centimeters deep, 100 mm as the quotation is. So that is a very significant thing, because it's being controlled from Earth, and at that distance you can imagine how the communication is working between Earth and orbiter 2 to lander to rover. So it's a perfect communication, but there are some limitations also. So first of all, it is the navigation camera that takes picture after picture and send them to from lander to orbiter and then to Earth. Then there is ISRO's team has a digital elevation model. They try to fit things and how they have to guide the going around of the rover. So, as they say, there is a turnaround time of 5 hours, which means once one model has worked, they have to again wait for some time. In between, they also have a problem with the location of the sun in the sky, because each day by about 12 degrees, it moves in azimuth. And then when it rose, it was almost due east, and then when it is going to set, that will be almost due west. So in between, that movement of the sun also is to be taken into account as they plan their or work their digital elevation models. So the pictures that have come are remarkable, and the obstacle it has tackled is also something very exceptional. So rover has worked, it's for sure, and it is going to work further, and I am very much hopeful that until 4th September, when the sun is setting on the site, it is going to function. In between, as the sun moves in azimuth, its track also will be accordingly planned from Bangalore, and then that's how we are going to get maximum out of it.
Absolutely. Mr. Kapoor, stay on with us, because I'm just now putting out some photographs of what the rover actually looks like. It has 6 wheels, sir, and all of these wheels, of course, have been designed to maneuver the very tricky surface, very tricky, rocky and crater-filled surface of the moon, and at the same time it also has these solar panels because it's getting all its energy to work directly, of course, from the sun. Some of the major specifications of the rover include the fact that its mission life is 1 lunar day, which is 14 days of Earth. Mass is 26 kilograms. The power is 50 watts. It has 2 payloads. And then, of course, there are dimensions. And the communication, quite interestingly, of the rover, Mr. R.C. Kapoor, happens directly with the lander. So it is from our Bengaluru headquarters, the signals are going to the lander, and then the lander is sending those signals to the rover. All of this requires a lot of coordination, and of course, we have to be very, very precise and specific, because there is also, I've read, there is a delay obviously in the time that it takes for all the information to be gathered by the lander, the videographic information to be gathered by the lander, and then it's sent back. Then that information is studied, and basis that information, some instructions are sent out that, okay, the rover then has to move in this particular direction, it has to take this turn. We look at the entire surface, what craters are we looking at, how many of them, will we be able to make it through that crater or not. All of this is a multi-hour job.
Yes, everything you said is right. And that's what rover is facing there. And by the same token, the team in Bangalore is facing the same thing, because from here the instruction goes there. And you see the light travel time to the moon is about 1.3 seconds. The turn also is of same. So 2.6 seconds means in 2.6 seconds something can happen. For example, a rover's own speed is, nominal speed is about 1 centimeter per second. So we do not know how fast it's going to move unless ISRO tells us, and then it has to be very careful prodding. So everything is going with a great caution. So I'm sure that it's best to observe as much caution as possible, so that we are getting the maximum out of it as long as the lunar day is there. So ISRO has not yet spoken about what is going to happen in the next cycle, but there is some hope. Let's hope, and if the instruments come back to life once again, and the sun rises there on, say, 19th September, and sun will be high up about 6 degrees on the 21st September. So let's hope we get something even then also.
And Mr. R.C. Kapoor, let's also just quickly take our viewers through the payloads that are specifically on the rover. So we're looking at the APXS is one payload, and then there is the LIBS. So the APXS is the alpha particle X-ray spectrometer to derive the chemical composition and infer the mineralogical composition to further enhance our understanding of the lunar surface. And then there is the LIBS, which stands for laser induced breakdown spectroscope, to determine the elemental composition of the lunar soil and rocks around the lunar landing site. Why exactly is it that we're looking for this information?
See, both the instruments are essentially spectrometers, but they function. One is laser driven, the other is radioactive material driven. See, for example, driven in the sense that laser, in the first case, LIBS, it burns a sample, and by ablating it, the kind of plasma that will be generated, the spectroscope takes the spectrum, and then from that we derive the elemental composition of that part of the lunar soil in the area where lander is right now. So we will know the composition, and we expect that aluminum, magnesium, calcium, iron, possibly titanium, and any rare earth material for any future expeditions of any space agency. All of this information is going to be very useful. By the same token, the other instrument, which is APXS, it has a radioactive material called curium-244. It sends out alpha particles, which means helium nuclei, and X-rays on a target. They impinge on it, and as they're reflected back, their energies are different, and the energies are characteristics of the target. So we know from their analysis the chemical composition once again, So these are two independent experiments for almost the same thing, but and then results can be compared.
Okay.
So okay, it's just the chemical composition. So then, of course, it has a navigational camera, which is what is the eye of this rover, and also through it, Bangalore plans how rover is to move around.
Mr. Suresh Nayak, let me bring you into the conversation as well, sir. The information that the rover specifically is trying to collect through its alpha particle X-ray spectrometer and the laser-induced breakdown spectrometer on the mineralogical composition, as we've understood, and also the elemental composition. Is this information only relevant to us as far as, say, we've been discussing for a long time that if we, say, find water or other such elements, it's possible that you may be able to launch certain missions from the moon itself in the future? Or is there a possibility that we're also looking at maybe bringing some of these minerals back to Earth one day? Mr. Nayak, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. Sir, my question, I'll make it even quicker. I just want to understand from you, when we're looking at studying the composition of the surface of the moon, is that simply from a perspective that, as we've been discussing, one day we should be in the position to launch further space missions from the surface of the moon itself? Or are we also looking at perhaps one day bringing some of these mineral compositions back to Earth?
Yes, actually, in fact, the utility or the applications will be both ways, because what happens is the possibility of launching rockets from moon, sort of establishing at a launch port on the moon is also there. And that possibility exists because of the fact that a large quantity of water in the form of ice is expected to be available in the southern region of moon. And secondly, this particular water, if it is found in abundance there, then we can get hydrogen, you can get oxygen, and from that we can make a fuel. And then another thing is, since the moon's gravity is less compared to Earth, it is 1/6 only. The fuel consumption, if you launch rockets from the moon, will be much less, and it will be very low cost and cost effective. And from that point of view, this is one possibility, that is finding water which enables you to launch rockets from there. Now, second aspect of, again, it is linked with finding of water and precious deposits, composition, minerals on the moon is giving a hope that because there is water available, because there is a lot of sunlight available on the peaks of the southern part of the moon, which are almost always in the sunlight, then we can also generate electricity by putting our power station there. So electricity and water, these two are very precious things for establishing a human colony. And if you establish a human colony there, and over a period of time, then if you find helium-3 and other such precious materials there on the moon, then the countries are thinking of doing the mining there, bringing it back to Earth, and use it for the benefit of the whole humanity. Like helium-3, you can get electricity, which is pollution-free, and secondly, it is helium-3 is expected to be available on moon in such an abundant quantity that it can fulfill the need of electricity on the Earth for a very long time. So that is the value of making this research on the surface of the moon and trying to find out the two things. One is the composition of the Earth's soil and under the soil. Second thing is the water in the form of ice.
Okay, Group Captain VN Jha, bringing you into the conversation here, sir. We're just putting out that video that has been put out by ISRO, in fact, of the rover making further steps on the surface of the moon. So, of course, the first video was when the ramp came down and it came out on the surface, and then ISRO's put out the next phase, of course, where it's pushed the rover a little further away from the lander as well. It has about 14 days, as far as we're concerned, to conduct the experiments. How exactly does the rover send the exact information, sir, back to Earth?
Well, rover has got two ways of communication. One is that it has got the telemetry data, which rover is sending to the lander, but we don't trust that very much. So there is this time there is a umbilical cord also attached to the rover. So there is a data wire also passing through there. So should rover generate any data, that gets transferred even by the wire link to the rover and to the lander, and from lander it can either come directly to the Earth station, or otherwise through either the propulsion module what is there in the orbit, or the orbiter 2 that is also in the orbit. One of these two ways of communication, from there to the IDSN, and from the IDSN it comes to the Earth station. So that is the way how the data is being transferred by this. But I just wanted to make a mention of it, that it is 14 days of the Earth, 14 Earth day of one lunar day there, out of which the first day, the sunrise, that is the sun is at 2 months of slant, and there is hardly any worthy amount of energy going to be grabbed by the solar cells for the enough energy to be produced. And the same happens for the last day, that 14th day. So effectively about 12 days are there when the experimentation can be carried out, and out of which today, I think today we are on the 5th, the Earth day onto the lunar surface. And this will all continue, the data will continue. I believe if all instruments functions normally, it will take about 5 to 7 days for the entire data to be collected and sent back to the Earth. So that is how ISRO has planned. But suppose if some accidents happen, this doesn't work for some time and it again comes up there. So cushion time is plenty. In one lunar day, all these data should be available to ISRO for working out onto it. And when the next lunar day starts, 14 days later after this present day finishes, again there will be another sunrise on the lunar south pole. There could be another day of reckoning of all these tests and sensing and data collections on that. So I firmly believe that this cycle will continue many of the lunar day, and we will have tremendous amount of data which can not be refuted by any agency. Those irrefutable data will be there with us, onto which we have to work out, and we have to draw some conclusion onto that.
Right, absolutely. I thank all of our panelists, of course, for joining us on the broadcast to take this very important conversation forward. And as the rover and the lander continue to send more and more information back to us on Earth, we will continue, I promise you, to bring all of our scientific minds with us to help us understand better what is it that we're looking at as far as Chandrayaan 3 is concerned.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon. For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.